and welcome to another episode of Content Marketing Commute. I'm here in beautiful sunny Montpellier. You wouldn't believe it's winter, but it is. It's so sunny and it's beautiful. To speak to someone about knowing your audience, really understanding your audience in B2B content marketing, and that person is Nathalie Figuière. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Did I say your last name correctly as well?
Figuière.
Figuière.
It's not bad, that's not bad.
Brilliant. Well, shall we go on a walk, Natalie?
Yes,
Sounds
let's do
good.
it.
Okay, you lead the way.
Go around this way.
Awesome. And so, Nathalie, you are Senior Content Marketing Manager at CoderPad.
Exactly.
Right, here in Montpellier.
Yes.
And first of all, can you just tell us where we are?
So we are in Marché du Lez.
Marché du Lez.
In Montpellier. This is about 10 minutes away from my office.
Yeah.
So we come here for lunch sometimes. And it's kind of
super
one
funky.
of those places that they've like made something from nothing.
Right.
It's like
I love that.
in like I don't know, it's like a mismatch of like
Yeah.
restaurants and
You got like a big motorway overbridge.
yeah,
just
there's
here
like a big
in-
food court.
in
Yeah,
the food
exactly.
court.
We're like in the middle of like just between roads and like I think there was like nothing here.
Yeah.
And now there are
Super cool.
a load of stuff.
Now there are a lot of hipsters, French hipsters
yeah,
here.
it's very,
Love
very
it.
hip. We can go this way.
Let's go this way. So we're just taking a quick walk through here. And Natalie, you sound British.
Yes. I don't sound French.
No, but I think when you speak French you do. That's the crazy thing.
Possibly.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, just very briefly about that, your story.
Yeah,
of being
so
here.
I've been in France now for 17 years.
17
Something
years.
like that. I was, born in the UK. I came over when I was about 13.
Yeah.
And we were meant to come over for a year. I came with my family.
Right.
And we've just never gone back.
Wow.
we can go
Oh,
through.
go this way. Very cool. And why would you look at this place? I mean,
I know.
not that the UK's bad. Love the
I
UK
did think
too.
this morning, I was like, Montpellier's putting on a show.
Putting on a show. Oh man, this place is so cool. Look, little skate park. Didn't bring my skateboard, unfortunately, but that's very cool.
And we do have to be careful here because it's like a shared
Yes. Oh my
path.
gosh.
So there are pedestrians,
Yeah.
cyclists.
Everyone's outside enjoying
The
the beautiful
sun.
day and the sun. Fantastic, Natalie. Well, we want to get into a bunch of different things today around, we had our briefing call and you talked about knowing your audience, and I thought that was such a cool thing to be talking about. First of all, before we get into that, can you tell us a bit about CoderPad and what you do there and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I'm Senior Content Marketing Manager at CoderPad. I've been with the company for 5.5 years. I actually joined the company when we were still Coding Game.
Okay.
So Coding Game and CoderPad merged coming up to 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so now CoderPad is one technical hiring platform
Right.
with 2.5 parts to it. So CoderPad Screen is to build and send out, it's going to be a bit noisy,
No, that's right. That's what the podcast is all about.
real life.
People are leaning in trying to listen to what you
It's
have
very,
to say.
it's very artistic.
It's beautiful. Oh yeah, look at all the art. Amazing.
Brief interlude.
Brief interlude. So CoderPad Screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with CoderPad Screen, you
listening.
can you can build and send out technical tests, so
Okay.
programming tests
Yeah.
that are hands-on, gamified, engaging.
Super cool.
And-
So this is like if you're interviewing a developer or something.
Exactly.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with CoderPad Interview, you can conduct live collaborative programming interviews
Yeah.
in a browser-based environment. And CoderPad Map, which is still in beta, so that's the half.
Yeah.
You use CoderPad Map to assess your team's skills internally.
Okay.
So identify strengths and weaknesses and track them over time.
Okay. Oh, very cool. So that's kind of more of a upskilling and type
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
Career progression and
Yeah.
upskilling, identifying hiring needs. And
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
I could go on.
Super interesting. It sounds like you're pretty passionate about it. That's come
Yeah, I
across
think it's
in
a
our
really good.
previous chat.
It's a really good tool, and I mean, we're trying to make technical hiring better,
Yeah.
fairer, and I
Yeah.
think that's just a really cool thing to do.
Cool. I like that. Just as an aside, I think that whole interview process, no matter what your job is
Mm-hmm.
so broken. There's so much room to change it because you always get that sense that it's not about being good at the job. It's about being good at interviews that gets you a job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
That's
like-
sort of what we're working with. I think it is, especially for like technical jobs, engineers, they're not necessarily good at selling themselves.
Yeah.
Without wanting to like generalize, but
Right.
yeah, it's not easy to show your skills
Yeah.
in an interview setting that's not what you're used to day to day.
Totally.
And so sort of giving those tools to recruiters to be able to create an interview
Yeah.
environment that is realistic and that sort
Yeah.
of sets them up for success. It's better for candidates, it's better for recruiters,
Yeah.
and it's just a fairer way of doing things.
Yeah.
I think it gives everybody a shot as well.
Nice. Great. Well, that's good to get the background from you there, Nathalie, on CoderPad. I realise the sun is behind us, and you can just see what a beautiful day it is. The glare of the sun. Like, I'm warm. We're wearing coats, but we probably don't need to be.
I'm going to be too warm.
We probably don't even need to be.
Maybe down there we'd have some shade.
Oh, yeah. Hey, we're doing great. Okay, Nathalie, before we get into the real topic of today, I'm always keen to explore how content people get into content, because you don't go to university to study content. You might go for marketing, but whatever. How did you get into content? Just give us a brief story, if you will.
Story of my content marketing life.
Yeah.
So I initially did a master's in applied languages, so English, French, Spanish and Mandarin.
Wow.
Please don't ask me to say anything in Mandarin.
Spanish still there?
Spanish, yeah.
Yeah? Not too far from Spain
No,
here. You
it's-
can get down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit sad that I don't use it like every day,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's still there. I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm a little bit rusty, but I try to
No te-
keep up with you.
Yo hablo poquito español.
Ah,
Muy
qué
poquito,
bien.
pero quiero practicar
Mm,
otra vez.
sí, me gustaría
No.
también. Duolingo.
Duolingo. Parang. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so I studied languages applied to business, international negotiation, and that
cool.
kind of thing. And I really enjoyed my masters, to be honest. It just didn't get me a job that I enjoyed.
Right.
So I decided to go back to school to do a second master's in communication and marketing. And I ended up with an alternance,
Yeah.
we were saying,
Yeah.
like a French student contract where you're like half at school, half at work.
Yeah. Which is a great system in France, by
Yeah.
the way, I found. Like, back home in New Zealand, coming out of uni, I feel like I didn't know how to work because I
Right.
never did that. But in France, it works better.
Yeah, you're doing both. You learn so much.
Yeah.
I mean, financially, it's also really interesting
Yeah.
to be able to go to school and
And actually
the
earn some
company
money.
helps finance it. Anyway,
Super cool.
It's a very cool system.
Yeah. So you started off in alternance.
So I started off in alternance and was working for a very small agency as content manager.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, wow, this is what I want to do.
Awesome.
I was like, I didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of content marketing, but I just thought it was so cool. I just thought it was so me. And I was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
So that experience was great. I mean, I learned so much. It was a very small team, so I had lots of responsibility and I just learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
after a year in that role, I was like, you know what, I don't want to be a student anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've been there, I've done that. Now I went back to school to find out what I wanted to do. Now I know what I want to do. I want to just go out and do it.
Yeah. Great.
Unfortunately, the agency wasn't in a position to hire at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
But I went to a HR conference, and I met Odd, one of the co-founders of Coding Game.
Mm.
And I was chatting with her, and she happened to mention that they were looking for a bilingual content manager.
Yeah.
At the time, they were creating content in both English and French.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, really? Tell me more.
Great fit.
And then, the following week we were having coffee, and the rest is history.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
I just love exploring that, different people's pathways into it, because, so many people have been journalists or studied languages or studied marketing, and it's really cool to see how you're coming at it from, so that's great. But let's jump into it, Nathalie. And today we're discussing a big topic, and I think one that it seems quite obvious, but is not done well in a lot of ways, I find, in B2B, which is really knowing your audience, right? And, we always talk about personas, or will we cross over
I think
the bridge?
we can go
Yeah,
back
that sounds
down
good.
there,
We talk about personas, and we talk about, all that sort of stuff. But it's a case of like, do enough content marketers and B2B brands understand who they're speaking to in a company, right? And so this is the topic we're going to talk about. And if I'm not mistaken, you at CoderPad, you're speaking to TA people, or talent acquisition people, in specific kind of company, in a...
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of moving up market, so sort of medium to bigger sized companies.
Yeah, and do they have to be in like a tech space?
No? In any industry, I mean, really, every industry almost is hiring like developers.
Yeah.
I think if that hiring need is there, then we can help.
Okay, cool. And so I guess my first question, did you know about this space before you jumped into it? I guess the answer is no.
Well, it was relatively new as a student with the agency that I mentioned. They specialised in inbound marketing and inbound recruitment.
Okay.
So that was actually my very first sort of introduction to HR, TA, recruitment. But it was relatively new.
So sort of like employer branding and stuff like that.
Right, employer branding. And so basically inbound recruitment, it's like inbound marketing, but you're selling to candidates.
Yeah, sure. So talk us through maybe high level question, but that kind of process you went through. You arrive at CoderPad, you sort of, a bit about the space. How do you get to immerse yourself in the world of the buyer? It's a big question.
Yeah, I think I started out doing what probably every content marketer that's new to a role does.
Yeah.
So I did market research, I built detailed persona profiles.
Yeah.
I did, mind mapping, competitor research. I subscribed to blogs and newsletters. I tried to identify.
Oh dear. We've got a muddy puddle here ahead of us, but I think we can get round the side. So you pulled as much information as you could from all over the web.
Yeah, all over the web, all over social media, all over internally as well, our customer base. So yeah, I think you sort of that groundwork. I think almost everybody who starts in a new role redoes that research. Yeah. Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think it's good to be able to confirm that you're still on the right track, that you're aligned. Yeah. See if there's anything you can dig up. Yeah. But yeah, I did kind of a substantial amount of work coming into the role.
Cool. Sounds like you had that focus of really trying to understand the audience, which I don't know if you agree, but I don't see everyone have that focus. Sometimes people will start with the product and sort of think, I'm here to sell this product, so that's what I'm going to talk about. But you had a different kind of thought to that?
Yeah, I think for me, it's what's most important is your persona and the problem that their pain points, like their interests, their challenges, what problems they're trying to solve. Yeah. So that, yes, you need to understand your product, but you need to understand what problem you're solving with your product. Because you can market your product because it does X, Y, Z, and if that's not what your persona is looking for to solve problem 1, 2, 3, then there's just going to be a mismatch. Yeah.
Totally. So almost like, as a content marketer, the value you bring the most is really diving deep and owning that pain, and then sure, there's other people in the company who kind of own the product, and you've got to connect it to the product, but that's your job to really understand the pain.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to go into more detail now about how I've done that over time as well.
Yeah, let's just jump into it. It's organic.
Because I think your initial sort of groundwork, I think that's very good to do that. I think what you don't want to do is to sort of do that work, build out your persona profile, get as detailed as you can. I think I can remember quite vividly my persona profile. I'm pretty sure my TA persona, she was called Jen. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
You gave her a name. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very attached to sort of the creative and empathetic sort of side of content. And so yeah, I mean, my persona, she or he, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, needed an identity, so a name, and I needed to know what her daily life, what her life looks like. Yeah. And it may sound, I don't know, superficial.
Some non-marketers would say, oh, why do you need to put a name on it, or why do you need this or that or whatever.
But it really helps you to put yourself in their shoes. Yeah. To feel like they're real people that you're talking to, writing for.
Exactly. And they are at the end of the day.
And
like
they are.
you're going to see, you're going to see traffic and clicks and downloads and whatever, but that's people behind it, and it's easy to forget that sometimes, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think doing that groundwork, I think, is great. And then I think over time...
Was she married with a dog and lived in the suburbs? Like, did you go into that stuff as well?
I think I went into quite a lot of detail. At some point, you got to stop because it's like obsessive.
It's a bit ridiculous. And she had a hard day the other day, but she's feeling a bit better now.
But it was very much just like, what are her pain points? Like, what is keeping her from doing? What is the ideal state? How would she like to do her job?
Yeah.
What is keeping her from doing that? Like, what are her challenges, her pain points? What tools is she using?
Yeah.
Where does she go for content? Like, what is she listening to? What is she watching? It's just getting into that detail. I think really helps you to paint a picture and put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah. So you initially kind of put that together based on like a bunch of online research and stuff. How else were you trying to put that together at the start, I guess? Because we're talking about that process.
So I guess at the start, like I said, I think talking to people internally, on the one hand, like your sales team, product marketing, like anybody who's in contact with your customers, any insights you can get from them, I think is really valuable. And then the people that are or resemble your persona.
Yeah, nice.
So like for me, for example, the people team at CoderPad, I mean, they're a great source of insight, and I can bounce things off them. It's like, okay, so do you care about this?
Yeah.
Like, is this interesting to you? Or if you were invited to this webinar or this webinar, which one would you pick? Like, sometimes it's really detailed stuff, sometimes it's bigger picture, but like keeping in touch with them and they're sort of your temperature check. It's like, are you on the right track?
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I'm freelancing at the moment for a fintech company, and it's such a new space for me. And there's two sort of finance managers in the company, and they're my best friends. I'm just like, do you care about this? Or is it just me making it up?
And I think even further than that, so obviously my primary persona is TA, recruiting for technical roles. So I also am a little bit interested in technical candidates.
Okay.
And those who are on the job. Because I want to know, these are the people that they're trying to hire.
Yeah.
I want to know, how do they feel about the technical recruitment process, for example?
Right.
Like, what's their feedback? What can I take back to my persona that's going to be interesting to them?
That's interesting.
And because I work with a lot of developers, both internally and like we're just in a tech space, so I obviously am able to talk to a lot of tech people, and I've learned so much from them as well.
Very cool. So I think let's try to get back to that journey. You're in the company, you're pretty new, you've done that research, talked to people, got as good a picture as you can. Where do you go from there? Or where did you go? And where are you going?
So I guess on the one hand, you're going to want to identify sort of key themes. I think these are very much related to like the jobs to be done mapping, like my colleague Molly would call it. Hi Molly.
Hey Molly.
And their pain points. I think like what is their problem and how can you help them solve it? I think in terms of identifying content, obviously you're going to want to bring like SEO and keyword research into that as well and kind of match all of that. But in terms of staying in touch with your persona and making sure that it's not just like I built out this profile 5 years ago and I'm still basing everything I do off that. It's got to be like a living thing, right?
It's
got to be an ongoing thing. I mean, I live and breathe in the TA space. I consume way more HR content than I do marketing content or content marketing content.
Interesting.
So does that make me a really bad content marketer or a really good one?
I think it makes you a good one.
But yeah, I think content like newsletters, blogs. Newsletters are great because you can subscribe to a whole bunch and they just end up in your inbox, and I don't religiously read all of them. But it gives me an idea of what's cooking and I can pick stuff out, and there are some great reads. I think LinkedIn is a great place to go. LinkedIn is a bit of a tricky one because it can be such a scroll trap and it can take a while to sort of build up your algorithm.
And sort of curate. You got it. What I've learned, you got to really curate your own feed, right? Otherwise, it's a bit. It can feel a bit.
Like you can, but over time you get to a place where your feed just becomes such a source of knowledge and insights. And obviously I follow TA professionals, but I also follow recruitment tools, recruitment software, HR influencers. Yes, that's a thing. And
cool.
just everybody sort of in that space to see what they're talking about, what's coming up, and sort of get those insights.
That's really cool. So it almost starts as a very trying to research process, and you're getting it all down on paper, and then over time it's just, it's more and more that you understand it in your head, and you are just like adding little bits to it all the time.
It's become very natural now, to be honest, to just sort of live and breathe in that space.
And then you see something and you see a new thing, and you're like, oh, you pick up that you're going to be interested in that because you know
or like
them
you
well
see a
from other parts of it.
recurring topic, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is picking up speed, and like people are getting interested in this. In-person events are great as well. Don't go to sell, but go to be like it's hard to not feel like an imposter in those kind of settings. But I think genuinely, if you're there with modesty and like genuine interest, you want to learn about their jobs, about their challenges, about what they're doing day to day. Like that's just a really, really, really good place to go.
Very cool. One question, Nathalie, I wanted to ask you is around subject matter experts, right? Because I like the way you think about content and your job, in the sense that you become, in a sense, a subject matter expert. I've always thought, like, now that I'm freelancing as well, I'm probably not going to become a finance expert, right? So I need to like really lean heavily on people in the company who do know that stuff. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but how do you work with those people, or how should content marketers work with the people within the company who really are experts in the space?
I guess it's building a relationship. I think it's over time, as you become more and more sort of informed on those topics. Now I work very closely with the people team, and it's a two-way thing. So on the one hand, I learn from them, and they're able to sort of give me reality checks sometimes, be like, that's all well and good, but in real life that's not how it goes. Or this is the limit of what you're saying.
That's just marketing.
They teach exactly. But they teach me so much about sort of nuance of like, but then on the other hand, for them, they don't have to curate their content to keep up with trends in HR, because I do it for them.
Oh, great.
I'm not saying that they don't, but it's cool, like, for them also to hear from me on like, well, I've seen this company be successful doing this, or I've seen this trend is coming up, as like, or I've seen candidates that have been asking for this, or employees are expecting this. Like, it's in a broader sense, not necessarily just in recruitment. And I'm actually also staff representative. So I'm like personally invested as well in sort of playing my part in making CoderPad a great place to work.
That's awesome.
So we have a lot of discussions around sort of our internal policies, and it all sort of goes together. It's like
I love that. That's really, really cool. And
I'm so warm.
It's so warm. It's so warm. But
I'm
it's
going to just dump my coat somewhere.
We'll just continue this way. We might be able to get back across
in a while.
In a while, we'll see. Well, you lead the way.
We might have to turn back at some point.
Okay, we might have to turn back.
Because I'm not swimming across.
It does look inviting, doesn't it? Not particularly, but it's a beautiful day here in Montpellier, and that it's interesting how you describe it, because I feel like there's two lanes here. Like, either you can become the expert in the space as a content person, and then over time maybe you become a slightly bit more independent within the company. You know your stuff, whatever. Or you can sort of say, okay, if I have good subject matter experts who get it and who are easy to work with and whatever, like, I can just rely on my craft, which is communicating and packaging and all that sort of stuff.
I think definitely I can see that sort of evolution over sort of my years of content marketing, is that I've gone from my skill was being able to source all of that information, sort through it, reorganize it, like package it in a way that was useful and interesting and valuable to our audience. to now where I'm still doing that, but I'm also adding my sort of opinion, my take.
Yeah, which is cool. Which is
even
adding
more
my
my
useful,
input,
right? Yeah.
which makes it even more useful, which makes it even more interesting to do. So I think, if you can get to that place, that's like a really interesting. So like fairly recently, over the past year, for me it was also really rewarding to see that like the people team internally, they'll like reach out to me for my opinion, or
cool.
like we were like, well, what do you think, or what have you seen, or how would you do it, and to sort of realize that they have confidence, that they see me as a peer or a partner, or I'm like, okay, I know my stuff.
Very cool. That's very cool. That must be very rewarding. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to turn around here, Nathalie, and head back to Marché du Les. Couple of last questions. We've talked a lot here about how you understand your audience, how you get a good picture of them. Want to take that a step further, and like when you're doing that, what sort of signals are you looking for to know that you're on the right track or you're hitting the mark with the people that matter?
Right. I'd say I'm not a numbers person.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have goals and I have metrics to follow, like key success metrics, but it's not something, I'm not passionate about dashboards and calculations and projections and that kind of thing. But luckily, I get to work with our global head of content, Alice. Hi, Alice. Who is extremely talented and who is a numbers person.
Nice.
So we work together to sort of surface those indicators.
Nice.
And
It's so great, by the way, when you can find, like, when you have a good binôme, as we say in French, like a good partnership with someone in your company, and you can focus on what you're great at and they can do what they're great at.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's very much the case. I'd say Alice is more of a strategist, and I'd say I'm more of I'm very attached to sort of the operational creative side of content, so I'm more of a writer / researcher / journalist / presenter, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's great that we're both able to do what we love and what we're good at.
Very cool.
Anyway, so I work with her. We also turn to our demand generation manager, Mike. Hi, Mike.
We're saying hi to everyone.
Yeah,
it's
hi
awesome.
to everybody.
Does that mean they're all going to be watching and listening?
Hopefully.
Yeah, good. They better be.
And product marketing director Molly as well.
Shout out Molly. Shout out Molly.
But yeah, she works really closely with sales. Obviously, Mike he owns all of his ad campaigns. And to be able to sort of bring all of those insights together, which ads are being clicked, which topics, like which content is performing best in our ads, in our newsletters as well, like what's being clicked on, what can Molly bring us back from customers. And basically I run a editorial meeting once a month.
Oh, nice.
Where we kind of all get together and we bring all that together to sort of surface those indicators. Yeah. And we look at traffic and engagement, social engagement as well.
Cool.
So there's a whole bunch of things you can look at.
Yeah, I guess. Awesome. Do you look at anything on like the qualitative side as well? I know it's always great when someone comments on something and says, this content's awesome.
I know.
I always like to screenshot that stuff.
Know,
do you do the same?
Happy dance.
Yeah, happy dance.
It's like, oh yay. At least one person thinks it's interesting.
Yeah. I spend so much time on it.
I think, yes. Absolutely. Like I said, like social engagement, that kind of thing. I think webinars is a really great way to do that. A really great way to sort of get that direct feedback. Like there are actual people in real life, in real time, listening to you, like consuming your content. And that's a really great way to get feedback. And I think the questions, like, for example, our webinars are like a roundtable discussion and then a Q&A session. And that Q&A session, that is just a gold mine. I mean, these are real people asking real questions. Like, this is what they want to know. Very cool. So I'd recommend going back through, reviewing all of those questions and seeing how you can answer them in your content. Yeah. I think if you host webinars, and then if you don't or you can't, attending webinars and seeing what questions people are asking, that's a great way to do that as well. Yeah, really cool. One thing I've just got to do recently, and I've wanted to do for so long, is start using Gong. Have you ever used Gong? Yes. Yes, Gong is a great source for that sort of temperature check, I guess. Yeah. But we use Gong for to record all of our customer calls. So
You
to be
just
able
jump
to
in
go
there.
in, to be able to jump in and search for a specific topic, a specific keyword.
Yeah.
So I can go in and be like, employer branding, AI in recruitment, I don't know,
Yeah,
anything,
totally.
skills-based hiring, whatever, and see what our customers are saying about it, what vocabulary are they using,
Yeah.
like how are they wording it, what do they find challenging, how are they approaching that challenge.
Yeah.
That
So
is,
good.
really interesting.
Very cool. There's a lot of, like, kind of summing it up. As a content marketer, it can be easy to get further and further distanced from your audience, and it's almost a case of continually trying to fight for ways to get closer
Right.
to them, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think it's not always easy to justify as well when you're like, I want to go to an HR event. Like, what?
Why?
You're in marketing. Why do you want to go to an HR event?
Or I want to come meet a customer or something.
Right.
They're like,
It's
we
like,
don't need
well,
you to be there. Well, yeah. I've had that before.
But it's so important, and I think to be able to sell that, like, you can be confident in saying, if I don't know our persona, if I won't be able to create content that will resonate with our persona,
Totally.
and they won't convert and they won't buy.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong argument.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. A last question, Natalie. This has been really, really cool conversation. Is, if there's content marketers listening out there and marketers who, like me maybe, working in fintech or some crazy weird space where they're like looking at the people, trying to understand the people
Right.
who they're trying to sell to. Do you have a piece of advice for them?
Yeah, I think for starters, I'd say that, I guess it's probably come across, but I'm pretty passionate about HR,
Yeah.
recruitment. Like, I just think it's such a fascinating, colourful profession. I think it's just such an interesting thing to do, where you can have impact on people's lives, like their daily work lives. So yeah, I just think it's really interesting. But I do think there's a little bit of a like chicken or the egg scenario.
Right.
Like, am I just naturally drawn to HR, or have I built that interest over the years to better serve my audience?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think you can get interested in pretty much anything. I think if you're not, like, without wanting to sound too much like a motivational quote, I'd say curiosity is key,
Yeah.
and passionate is contagious.
Nice.
So if you're not naturally passionate about the subject matter, say finance, find people who are.
Yeah.
Like, get in touch with those
Because
people.
that'll rub off on you, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really cool.
That'll rub off on you.
That
And
did sound like a
I
motivational quote.
I can guarantee that pretty much any field, there are people who are passionate about what they do.
Yeah,
And who care and who want to share what they do as well.
totally.
So yeah, find those people, find that media, like identify all of those different sources of information.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
before you know it, you'll be like, wow, this is such an interesting thing to do.
And I think that's actually a really, really good point, Natalie, because I think sometimes it's about finding the why behind that thing, right?
Right.
And sometimes these experts, they're so in the detail of the thing that they don't necessarily connect all the time with why. Like, who cares? So what? And that can be your job as a content marketer to be like, why? And then, yeah, you're bringing your side to it, and that's really cool.
I mean,
So-
I was talking to, side note, but like I was talking to one of my colleagues. I'm going to shout
What's her
out
name?
again. Hi, Ida.
Hi, Ida.
who works in data science. And I mean, for me, that's I'm learning more about it, but it's still relatively new and unknown.
Yeah.
And she was talking about what she does, and she was like, well, it's such a creative thing to do. And I was like,
What she
really?
does?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, really? Why would you say it's creative? And like, she went on to explain how for her bringing the data to life, like getting all of the insights and how you can apply those and how much impact you can have and blah 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 blah. But I was like, wow, like I'd never have thought of that. I'd never
As a
have thought of
creative
data
thing.
science as like a creative thing. But yeah, talking to her about it, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So yeah. Talk to
Very
people,
cool.
be curious.
Talk to people, yeah. It just comes down to being curious, yeah, and wanting to ask questions and understand.
Yeah.
That's what makes a great content marketer. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
This has been a fantastic conversation. We're going to finish our walk through this beautiful wooded area that we walked through earlier.
I don't know where I'm taking
It's
you.
lovely.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, there's so
Random.
many interesting things all around. But it's been fantastic. You have any last thoughts? That we basically touched on so many things.
Do I have any last thoughts?
Anyone else to say
I
hi
guess-
to?
Hi, Mom. Mom!
Hi, Mom!
No, I think I'd say be confident as well. Like, it's very easy to be confident. That's such a silly thing to say. But, I mean,
No.
it's easy to sort of feel like an imposter.
Yeah.
To feel like you can't give your, like, why? How can I give my opinion on HR subjects when I have never worked as an HR manager?
Yeah.
I've had that thought. I've been like, what do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
But I think, have confidence in the fact that you're putting the work in, you're learning, you're talking to people, and be modest. I mean, I'm not going to like go and say, I know what you should do, I know all, but I'm listening and I'm learning, and there's genuine interest. And I think, be confident enough to be like, I can bring something to this.
That's really cool. Love it. Okay, well, that was another episode of Content Marketing Commute. We'll be back next week for a About Last Week episode where I will dive into one specific topic in this episode, Natalie. I'm going to pick it out and I'm going to just like try and deep dive on it. And I don't know if not rip it apart. Not rip it apart, Natalie. I couldn't possibly do that. I'll just, try and bring my spin on it and a bit deeper level of information. If I can. It'll be a big challenge, honestly, it will. Because that was great. Well, thank you, Natalie, and we'll see you again next week, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much. Bye.